In today's video, I'm discussing the insidious form of emotional, psychological, and spiritual abuse known as gaslighting. Let's dive in. Hi friends, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here, my name is Tammy M. Joyce. I'm the founder of Tammy M Coaching, and I run a powerful 8-week transformational coaching program called the Freedom Class, specific to healing and recovery from codependency and narcissistic abuse. If that's of interest to you, be sure to stick around till the end of the video and I'll tell you exactly how you can learn more about my programs. So let's talk about gaslighting, the insidious form of emotional, psychological, and spiritual abuse that inevitably goes hand in hand with narcissistic abuse. First of all, what is it? Well, gaslighting is a term used to describe the experience of having someone attempt to cause you to doubt yourself, your memories, and your own perception of reality. And this is done through manipulation, deception, and twisting and distorting of facts, as well as outright lying, minimizing, and denying. It's when someone in your life works to manipulate you emotionally by deliberately playing head games with you. As a result, you find yourself feeling highly triggered and emotionally reactive, and depending on the situation, sometimes even regressing to childhood in the presence of a perpetrator who feels entitled to manipulate you in this fashion. Gaslighting is a metaphorical term that refers to mental abuse in a manipulative form. Often, the perpetrator or the abuser will present false information to their chosen target, so the perpetrator is perceived in a better, more virtuous, and superior light than they actually are in reality. A classic example would be when a child who was abused by a parent or caretaker grows up and dares mention the very real abuse that took place in the past. The parent or caretaker, along with their enablers, will lie, minimize, and deny that anything of the like ever happened, as if the memories we have are made-up dreams, fantasies, or some sort of hallucination, and we aren't capable of remembering what we lived as children. It's ludicrous. And friends, make no mistake, it's not just ludicrous, it's abusive. It's how narcissistic people rewrite history to suit themselves and attempt to cover up the very real relationship crimes they've committed. As if simply saying a thing didn't happen is all it takes to alter reality and the fact that it actually did. This is gaslighting, and it's abuse, on top of the original abuse. Another classic example is when one person in a relationship receives a call or text message from someone they're having an affair with. Now, they might try to hide the evidence so their partner doesn't find out. So, let's say the partner who's being cheated on happens to see the call or text come through on their cheating partner's phone. And it's clearly from someone they don't know, since it's a name they don't recognize. Now, naturally, they're going to ask their partner, "Who's so-and-so? I saw the text pop up on your phone." The cheating party might reply with something like, "What message? I don't know anyone by that name." They then delete the message to prove there's no calls or messages from anyone with that name. And the problem is, when this happens, the partner who's being cheated on may very well doubt whether he or she even saw the message at all, when in reality, they did. And what's really going on is they're being manipulated into believing a lie, and as a result, doubting themselves and their own perception of reality. And this is about a lot more than just being lied to, friends. Let me be clear. It's emotional and psychological abuse. Why? Because gaslighting boils down to a systematic attempt by someone to erode another's reality and personal identity by telling them that the things they are experiencing or have experienced in the past never happened. The abuser's goal is to cause their target to feel unsure about themselves, their memory, and potentially even their sanity, discounting their own knowing and experience in addition to what they see, hear, and feel. This way, the target, as well as others, don't see the abuser as having done anything wrong, but instead are convinced that the target is the one who is the issue, the problem, and isn't seeing, feeling, or remembering things correctly. In a case like the cheating partner, you'll be accused of being insecure, jealous, controlling, and crazy, when in reality, you're just seeing things for what they are, and the lying cheat is manipulating you into doubting yourself and questioning what you know to be true. In the case of the abusive parent or caretaker, the same applies. You'll be accused of being too sensitive, so dramatic, emotionally unstable, overreactive, the liar, and in some cases, the abusive one. When in reality, what's really going on is your 1000% accurate recall threatens to expose them for who they really are, behind the "I'm so virtuous and superior" mask and performance they've got going on. And nothing terrifies a narcissist more than the threat of exposure. So, this is how gaslighting and scapegoating go hand in hand in the realm of narcissistic abuse, in particular in highly toxic and dysfunctional family systems. Sick stuff, and causes untold damage that can take many years to heal from and repair. So again, make no mistake, friends, gaslighting is without question a form of emotional, psychological, and spiritual abuse that is used to instill an extreme sense of insecurity, confusion, and anxiety in the target, and if successful, leads to the target being fully unable to trust themselves, nor are they able to properly trust their own judgment, memory, or perception of reality. In other words, the actual truth of their experience. And if you want to go deeper into this subject, you can watch my video here on gaslighting types, phases, and phrases. And to be clear, this form of psychological abuse is both a deliberate and systematic approach between an abuser, the gaslighter, and the target of the abuse, the gaslightee. And anyone can fall victim to being gaslit, regardless of age, race, gender, or level of intelligence. Contrary to what the abuser has told you, this has nothing to do with your lack of intellect, emotional stability, or psychological wellness. Rather, it's far more likely that your susceptibility to this kind of manipulation and abuse is due to your naivete as a result of your high empathy nature. And in many cases, it's also a function of having been on the receiving end of all manner of abuse, not least of which gaslighting and scapegoating, starting from a very early age. The thing is, as an empath, you'd never in a million years treat others the way you've been treated. So, it's hard to accept that someone you love is treating you this way. Further, you'd gladly forgive a parent or caretaker for transgressions of the past if they just fess up, come clean, admit to, and take responsibility for what actually happened, and sincerely apologize with an intent to amend their behavior and make things right. But when dealing with people who land on the spectrum of destructive narcissism, they can't do that. Their need to be seen and perceived as blameless, flawless, and oh so superior is much more important than righting any wrong or doing or saying anything that might actually contribute to or support you in your healing process. They don't care about you or your well-being. So the abuse cycle continues with all manner of gaslighting and scapegoating for as long as you're willing to stand still and allow it to happen. Now comment below and let me know whether or not you're being gaslit by anyone in your life. Let me know in the comments section below. And if that's the case, you're likely an excellent candidate for my 8-week transformational coaching program, the Freedom Class. If that's of interest to you, there's a link in the description below where you can apply to see if you qualify for a free one-on-one consultation with either myself or a member of my team. If you have anyone in your life whom you feel perpetually anxious around, you can't quite put your finger on why, but you're just not yourself or at ease in their presence, or they leave you feeling like you always need to apologize, over-explain, and defend yourself, as well as tippy-toeing around and walking on eggshells around them, chances are you've been or are being gaslit. Pay attention to how you feel around people whom you suspect do not have your best interest at heart, no matter how phony they may be or how much they may claim otherwise. If you notice you often feel anxious and or confused in someone's presence, there's a clue. If you catch yourself feeling like you need to over-explain and defend yourself or apologize even when you know you've done nothing wrong, there's another clue. If you're constantly second-guessing yourself, whether or not your feelings are legitimate or your thoughts are rational, your perception and memories are real, or worse, you doubt your own sanity, this is a big red flag that you have been or are being systematically gaslit. And if that speaks to you, you'll want to check out my video, Is Gaslighting Emotional Abuse? Here. Here's the thing. Gaslighting is about manipulation, deception, outright lying, but more than anything, it's about control. In addition to being a form of emotional, perceptual, and psychological manipulation, gaslighting is also very much a form of emotional, perceptual, and psychological control. That's what's really going on, controlling you, your perception, the perception of others, and the narrative at large. And look, misunderstandings and miscommunication can happen for sure. But the problem is when the so-called miscommunication becomes a regular occurrence. In other words, a pattern with a certain individual or group of individuals. Especially if you notice that the so-called miscommunication is often dubbed just another misunderstanding, and of course, conveniently so, as it works in the favor of the person you suspect is doing the gaslighting. Take a moment to ask yourself, is there anyone around you who continually makes you anxious or leaves you feeling the need to always apologize? Do you walk on eggshells around this person, afraid of upsetting the apple cart? No matter what goes on, are you always to blame the so-called problem or issue? Does this person or do these people attempt to cause you as well as others to question your sanity? Think about it. Does any of this sound familiar? It's important to pay attention to the signs because one of the long-term effects of gaslighting emotional abuse is that it will override your own perception of reality to the extent that you begin to not only doubt yourself, but question your own good judgment as well as your memories. And narcissists love to make us the problem, the issue. They love to project all of their own toxicity, shortcomings, and relationship crimes onto us. They love to manipulate, dupe, deceive, discredit, and devalue us. And gaslighting is one of their very favorite ways to do this. In any relationship, putting someone down and making them feel like they either aren't paying attention to what's being said, or worse, making them feel like they're stupid, silly, inadequate, or inferior is a way of undermining the target's sense of self-worth and self-esteem. And only highly manipulative, empathy-impaired people do this, by the way. Good, decent, kind, honest, genuinely loving, compassionate, and empathic people who actually have your best interests at heart won't try to gaslight you, but narcissists will, all day long, if you let them. And the net result is the person being perpetually gaslit naturally feels ashamed for not being good enough. And understandably, this can make them want to try even harder to win the love, validation, acceptance, and approval they've been starved for their whole lives, thus giving the person doing the gaslighting a stronger sense of dominance and control. So, does any of this sound familiar? Whether or not you've heard of gaslighting before, or you know you're currently having this experience yourself with someone in your life, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to live this way. Being emotionally and psychologically manipulated by anyone in your life, whether that's a personal or a professional relationship, is not okay. And you don't have to put up with it. There's something very wrong with someone working to convince you that you're delusional, wrong, and flawed, or you aren't capable of remembering correctly, as if something's wrong with your memory and your perception of reality, and doing so while knowing full well the issue isn't you. But they sure do enjoy pretending that it is, and further, they enjoy benefiting from selling the distorted narrative to others in order to shore up their false image and this fake phony persona they've got going on. And what's really going on is they are lying to you and about you, period. As confused as you might feel while on the receiving end of it, it really is that simple. They are liars. Toxic, manipulative, deceptive, abusive, empathy impaired, deeply unconscious, conscienceless liars who are lying. And you don't have to put up with any of it. How can Tammy M Coaching help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell to get my new video every Friday. Number 2, watch my free web class by clicking on the link in the description below. You'll learn about my personal journey and professional experience through decades of research specific to healing and recovery from codependency and narcissistic abuse. You'll also learn about some powerful strategies that you can begin to use today. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and you'd like to be supported by a stellar community of like-minded people who are focused on solutions that actually work, you can learn more about my 8-week transformational coaching program, the Freedom Class, by going to www.tammyamcoaching.com and clicking on programs and reviews for all the details. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to break free from painful relationship patterns permanently and actually make lasting progress in your healing and recovery, go to tammyamcoaching.com and click on Apply Now to learn how you can become a client.